no, your ass better call somebody.
The energy revealed. Brooklyn to Queens, reppin' both hoods. Rob and CP, keep it fire, misunderstood. Cheer 'em all loud, let the anthem flow. Mets fans unite at the pregame show. From city stand lights to the skyline greens, it's the heartbeat of Queens, the craziest dreams. Rob hype on the mic, CP's the fire spark. Together they ignite, voices like the park fans drift in jerseys. Legacy bold, the Metropolitan story forever told. Turnstile spinning, the crowd floods the gates. This is family, no time for debates. Crack of the Batman, the roar never fades. Queens in the blood, it's how champions are made. Cheer 'em all loud, let the anthem flow. Mets fans unite at the pregame show. From city stand lights to the skyline gleams, it's the heartbeat of Queens, the craziest dreams. 7-line swagger, vibes electric and wild. Mets legacy golden since I was a child. Orange crushed skies, let the battle ignite. Ride for the home team till the last fight.
What's up, Mets fans? Welcome to the baseball season. As it officially, baseball season has started, as baseball does not start until we play the first game in the best stadium in New York, CitiField. Chris, how are you feeling on this wonderful opening day?
Energized. I mean, it looks like the rain's going to hold off if there's any rain up there at all. So I'm going to get this game in, and I can't wait. The only thing that'll make me feel better on this lovely Friday is if the Mets get the W. So let's make it happen. Let's do it.
Yeah, absolutely. I believe it's a little chilly. Oh, actually, it's actually a pretty warm day, if I'm not mistaken.
It's approaching 70 degrees over there, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, I'm saying I wish I would have been there on opening day. The last time I was there on opening day, it was 37 and cold as hell. But that's okay, because we got a wonderful game, a nice, I say, somewhat cloudy skies, sunny skies, but a nice, decent day in New York for some baseball, and it will be electric at CitiField. As the lineup, as you see in front of you guys, is interesting. I'm a little shocked at two things in this lineup, but we will definitely get into that. And, of course, the pitching matchups. But before we get started, guys, hit on that like button, guys. Subscribe to the channel if you're not a subscriber of the channel. We do this all season long, pregame and postgame. One of us at all times will be on the show at the very least. So make sure you hit that notification button so you get notified when our streams and our videos go up, so you guys can see it and you can come on the live stream as well. All right, guys. So the last game the Mets did play was in Miami. They won the series, their first series win of the year, 6-5 in extra innings, and that was a very interesting game within itself, as Pete Alonso hit the 3-run homer to tie the game, and then eventually the Mets went ahead in the 11th, and they took care of business, and, well, it was very interesting nonetheless. It shouldn't have took that hard to beat the Marlins, but a win's a win, and you take it and you run home to Queens. And Chris, what are your thoughts on the Miami series before we get started talking about the Blue Jays game?
It's a typical Miami Marlins series against the New York Mets of recent history, in terms of just being a very tough, grinded out type of series, even though the Mets are clearly the better team and have been the better team on multiple occasions. So, that shouldn't shock really anybody. But I really do think that, especially in that last game, that there was a lot of toughness displayed, especially from Pete Alonso, who was powering the Mets all game long, essentially. Quite simple. The offense was just very hit or miss. The first game, the offense exploded. In general, the pitching held it down. I mean, Kodai Singh, I know he gave up 4 runs, a couple of errors mixed there in between. The pitching has been great so far over the first 2 series of this season between the Astros and the Marlins. It's time for the offense to come out and make a statement. But I'm happy that the Mets escape with a Series W, the first of the season, as we mentioned on the post-game show after Mets versus Marlins Game 3. Need a lot more crisp baseball. The defensive struggles, right? The team can't hit. If they don't hit, that's fine, understood. But if you're not hitting, you cannot afford to have those 3 to 4 defensive lapses that the Mets did in the entirety of that game 3. Quite simply put, they were a little bit lucky. If it wasn't for Pete Alonso, that definitely was going to be a series loss. But you know what? There's a reason why Pete Alonso's on this team. So let's go get it done. You're on mute, Rob. You're on mute.
Sorry about that. I got a little excited there. So, yeah, you know what? The $30 million man came through, and what I think that even though the Marlins are a bad team and it wasn't easy taking 2 out of 3 against the Marlins, I think the most important thing was to see this team kind of come together in that Miami series, right? They won the first game. They beat up the Marlins in the first game. Second game didn't look good at all. They lost. And the third game, it felt like the team finally came together, like they became a unit finally, right? It took the Alonso home run to tie up the ball game, and it just seemed like everything started clicking a little bit more to win that ball game. Everything started the ball rolled the right way. Everything started to be on our favor. We got the call at home plate with the great play by Terrence. And it just seemed like everything came together, and it's the perfect time. Right when the team started to look like a unit, started to be together as a team, they win the ball game, and now they're flying home with the energetic, crazy crowd that you're going to get on opening day for the home opener at CitiField. I think it's a perfect storm here. I think even though the Mets haven't started the year great, it's 500. They could have been a lot worse the way they played the first couple of games of the year, but the best part about it is that now we're home for 6 games. We played the Blue Jays. We played the Marlins. These are teams you need to beat. I know the Blue Jays haven't been bad. They're 5-2, but they're a team that I don't think it. I still think they're just missing something. And the Mets need to take full advantage of this energy that this fan base is going to give them. This fan base is electric right now. I've gotten videos from my friends that I would be at the games with. I mean, in the tailgate, it's freaking nuts. Like, beer is flowing, food is getting barbecued. It's just insane right now. People are waiting online. People are inside already. It's just insane what's going on at CitiField right now. And they got to feed off that energy, Chris, because I don't know if you heard, but what I said, that this team felt like it came together as a unit in Miami. It just felt like finally it seemed like they were like pushing hard to get through the finish line, and it seemed like everybody was doing individual things. And that last game in Miami seemed like it got them together a little bit with that Pete Alonso home run. It seemed that the bench went nuts and the fans were there in Miami. It just went crazy, and it felt like they just became a unit. And perfect timing coming home for your first game. I think it's going to be crazy.
Sometimes it takes a win like that, a come from behind win like that early in the season to go ahead and get something started, something special started. So I agree. I've been seeing a lot of stuff. I'm very jealous for the people and the lovely Mets fans that get to go out there and tailgate a little bit on this lovely Friday. Again, beautiful weather. Yes, it's a little bit overcast. Some sun would be great, but when you're here, April 4th, 2025, very early into the season still, Game 7 commencing, you'll take almost 70-degree weather, even if there's a little bit of clouds mixed there in between. So I agree with you. And something else that is just awesome to see coming across my social media page, I'm not sure if everyone else saw it, I'm not sure if you saw it, Rob, is that, the Mets actually went in to, I think, the family lounge or something like that, and they actually greeted Steve Cohen and Steve Cohen's family as well, which is absolutely awesome to see. Like, this organization is just full of just good vibes, man. It's just full of good vibes. And there's a lot of good vibes right now at CitiField, especially in the parking lot as they await to go inside the stadium. And it's just a beautiful thing. Like, how can you not be romantic about baseball season? It's the best season. I swear, it's the best season.
It really is. I love football. I love hockey. Basketball is a great sport as well, but it's just something about opening day. It's just something about the everyday of baseball that is just beautiful. And this is my first home opening day at CitiField. I'm missing in 10 years, so it's kind of a little bit of a sad moment, but still happy because it's still baseball. So in 10 years, besides the pandemic, obviously, but first time in 10 years. But you know what? Life goes on, and I get to watch one of my favorite teams. So we're ready to go. All right, so let's get to the pitching matchup. I think it's a very interesting matchup. Gaussman, I think, pitched against the Mets twice. I think once as a Giant and once as a Blue Jay, if I'm not mistaken. I believe twice, maybe even more, but I remember twice. And he pitched really well against the Mets, if I'm not mistaken. So, and he's been a pesky pitcher for the New York Mets. I always feel like we just couldn't hit him, but I could be completely wrong from that. But I feel like have not hit him in a couple of times we faced him. And we also have Tyler McGill on the mound. Again, another home opener for Tyler McGill. It's just amazing that this guy continues to get home openers or opening day starts. But he pitched well his first time out, and let's see what he can do again against the Toronto Blue Jays. That's a pretty decent hitting lineup. Obviously, they got Santander. Obviously, Guerrero Jr. Bichette has been going off to a good start. And, of course, former Met, Andres Jimenez, who's been a good addition to the Toronto Blue Jays as well, Chris. What are your thoughts on Kevin Gausman as a whole? I know you're probably looking at it because you're like the statistician on this show. What do you see from Kevin Gausman? What do you think the Mets have to do to, hit him?
Well, they've seen him, and I was just looking at the numbers as you said that because I was very curious. I didn't have enough time to look at the numbers before we started this stream. But yeah, I mean, they faced them a fair amount of times. The last time they faced them was back in 2021. So I mean, you got to expect that it's a different version of Kevin Gausman, who's been, around the league at this point for quite some time. I mean, the Orioles, the Braves, the Giants, and now the Blue Jays. He's a good pitcher. And I mean, there was at one point the Mets, were very interested in signing him and I guess was one of the finalists to sign him before he went elsewhere. So, he's got 3 to 4 pitches. I think he utilized 3 pitches in his first start this season. He went 6 innings and he, did fairly well. I think it was against the Orioles, I believe, is who they were playing. I'm not positive about that, but they've had some success in their history. But again, the Mets from 2021 to now are also just a very different team. So, when you look at those career numbers, the career statistics of it all, it can't really tell you much because this is a 4-year gap that you're talking about. So the one thing about Kevin Gausman to know is that, he does possess 3 dominant pitches. He does have a 4th pitch that he doesn't utilize as often, but his bread and butter is the splitter. The split finger fastball is his best pitch. Historically, it has been. And he gets a lot of swing and miss and just a lot of very weak contact. And if you know the Mets, especially going back to last season, maybe even the season before that, the one pitch that you can always chalk up that they struggle against, right? If any opposing pitcher possesses it, it's a splitter. And so that's what I'm very curious about in terms of this game, how the Mets are going to manage laying off of that splitter, because more often than not, pitchers will throw that and it will be a ball, but it ends up being a ball because there's so much late movement on it that it ends up looking like a strike all the way in and then it just drops from underneath. It's like the table just drops and the hitters swing and miss, just over the top of it. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm looking out for. But I don't know. New look lineup, new look Mets team. We'll see how they do. But the splitter, please watch out for it. That's what you need to know.
Yeah, I didn't realize it was that long ago that we faced Gausman. But again, he can be a tricky pitcher.
2021.
Yeah, it's longer than I thought it was much earlier. But hey, the hell do I remember? But yeah, so it's going to be interesting because it is an interesting lineup. Before we get to Tyler McGill, I want to, as we talked about what we need to do against Gausman, this lineup is very interesting, right? Vientos gets knocked down to the 6th spot as Marte gets moved into the DH spot in the 5th spot in the lineup, along with Nimmo cleaning up, Alonso, Soto, Lindor, 1, 2, 3. We know about that. And then 7 through 9 is Terranza, Acuna, and Siri. So I was a little shocked to see Marte in the lineup. I'm a little shocked to see Acuna in the lineup. Not as much as I'm shocked that Marte in the lineup. But what are your thoughts on Marte being in the lineup against the righty instead of Jesse Winker? I mean, that's the whole reason why they got Jesse Winker. That was the whole big thing of that they needed somebody for right-handed pitching and get a lefty bat as well, because they didn't trust Marte enough, 1, to stay healthy, 2, to hit righties. And yet you see Marte in the 5-hole as the DH. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, Jesse Winker towards the end of the game had one of the better at-bats, right? It was a 4-pitch walk, I believe. It didn't really take much out of him to do anything. I mean, he got an RBI out of it because there was a walk with the bases loaded in the later stages of the ball game. But, even going back to the last playoff run, Jesse Winker loved to work counts, and everyone gets, is infatuated with working counts. But I remember one start in particular, NLDS Game 1 versus Zach Wheeler in Philadelphia, where he was basically mowing down the entire Mets lineup with 98, 99 mile per hour heaters up in the zone. I mean, they were clear balls, but the Mets offense just simply couldn't lay off of it. And Jesse Winker was the lone guy to lay off of it. Well, it seems like in the first couple of games and his first couple of games of this season, he's got a tendency to be swinging first pitch, right? Being very aggressive in the count, which I don't dislike that. If you know me, then you know that I probably do like that. But there's a time and a place for everything, right? It's situational at the end of the day. And so I don't really know if this is as much like matchups based, because I don't really know what the numbers are for Starling Marte versus Gosman, in comparison to Jesse Winker. But for me, I think it's a testament to just Jesse Winker not really looking right. And this is not the first time that we've seen this, by the way, in terms of, Marte getting the start versus a right-handed pitcher. This is the second time. And he performed pretty well the last time. So, you know what? Trust in Mendoza, give him the benefit of the doubt. The fifth spot is pretty interesting for Starling Marte. The way that I assess it, that means that he's very adamant, Mendoza that is, of not moving Juan Soto out of that second spot. Like that's his last resort. Right?
And Vientos has been bad. And you're not going to move him.
Has been bad.
You're not going to move him to 7, 8, or 9. The farthest you're going to put Vientos is 6th. So it does straighten the lineup. But I think this is pure gut in every aspect, with Marte being the DH against a righty and batting 5th. I think Acuna, because again, Beatty's here for right-handers, but again, Acuna has shown a little bit more than Beatty, and it's not saying much, but Acuna has shown with the speed, and he actually, swings the bat, and he actually lifts the ball when he hits it. And again, Acuna provides the better defense. So I think it's pure gut. I was like, hey, it's the home opener. I'm putting the guys that I know have been hitting. And again, you're not taking Vientos out of the lineup. Who are you going to put in there? Beatty? So Vientos is going to be in the line. You just hope that dropping him down a little bit takes a little bit of pressure off of him. And I do have Vientos going yard today, by the way. I think he's going to get it going with the energy of the crowd. If you listen into the pregame show, they spoke to Vientos about his first time being on the home opener roster, getting his name introduced, which he didn't last year because Beatty was on the team and Vientos wasn't. So I think it's going to energize him. I think it's going to calm him down a little bit because we know he can hit under pressure. We've seen it in the playoffs. So it's not the pressure. I just think he's hard on himself 2 times. And I think he's going to get a great ovation at CitiField when he gets introduced. And it's only going to calm him down just a little bit more. And I think it's going to be perfect. And look, I mean, how can you hate this lineup today? I mean, there's no, if you don't like this lineup, look, positional wise, however you want the lineup to be, if you don't like Soto in the 2-hole, Alonso in the 3-hole, or Nimmo cleanup, I think most of us don't like Nimmo cleanup, but how can you not like this lineup? If you could just go 1 through 8, let's leave Siri out of this for a second. Even with Vientos bad, you got Luis Torrens red hot. You got Acuna who can do damage, especially with the speed. And then you have Alonso being red hot, right? Juan Soto struggling a little bit, but I have a feeling Juan Soto is going to do some craziness today. And I think Lindor is going to start getting looking a little bit better at the plate as well. This lineup is awesome, Chris. I mean, how can you really, I don't know. There was a couple people on X that were like, oh, I don't like this lineup. What is there not to like about this lineup?
No, there's nothing not to like about this. There's nothing not to like about this. What can you really complain about realistically outside of but even then, bullpens, I get that they have 2 lefties in their bullpen, the Blue Jays do, but saving a lefty on your bench is not the worst thing in the world, right? Situationally, in terms of like a pinch hit situation. And Marte has been the clear upside guy between the two in terms of their early season production. So I agree with you. There's literally nothing to not like about this lineup, really. Beatty hasn't been swinging a good bat at all. right? You get the speed of Luis Angel Acuna. I know people are still a little bit iffy on Luis Angel Acuna, which is fine, but it's not like you're having a tremendous drop off, either which way.
Correct.
So I also am looking at this lineup. I'm like, what could people really be complaining about? To be honest,
People
I have
just
no
have to
idea.
complain, right? People just have to complain, and that's okay. Look,
Right.
somebody said that they didn't like Siri batting ninth, or they wanted Tyrone Taylor in a bowl game. That's nitpicking at this point. I mean, Tyrone Taylor is probably an all-around better player, a little bit better offensively. I just think Mendoza's going with, what? You're going to have the energetic crowd. You're going to have the energy of the crowd. And I think Jose Siri drives off of energy. And he probably wants to get him going a little bit. And maybe that's a good way of doing it. And again, it's very hard to question Mendoza when he does these things with the lineup, because it doesn't seem like it's matchups. It doesn't seem like it's numbers based. I just think it's, all right, who's hitting right now? Right, you're not putting Beatty at third base over Vientos. So Vientos is going to play regardless, but he dropped him in the order. Marte has been much more better at the plate than Jesse Winker. Acuna not have a ton of hits, but he's looked better at the plate than Brett Beatty. Nimmo, I don't like him in the cleanup spot, but I see what Mendoza's trying to do. He likes that 1-2-3 in Lindor, Soto, Alonso, and you're not going to mess with Alonso right now. He likes Soto and Lindor 1-2. And that Nimmo has really nowhere else to go. and that's why Nimmo's kind of in a weird spot on this team, because Nimmo is a 1 or 2 hitter. You're not dropping him down to 6th in this lineup, even 5th in this lineup at times, but we have seen that already. So 6 through 9, he's not going to be batting in there. So Nimmo is limited, especially when you're not moving Lindor and you're not moving Soto. I'm a big advocate of Juan Soto batting second, but if you're going to continue to put Brandon Nimmo in the 4 hole, I don't like it at all. I don't even like him in the 5th spot. I would actually change Nimmo to number 2 just to move Alonso 4th and Juan Soto 3rd, just because I don't like Nimmo in run-producing type of roles in the lineup. That's the way I just feel. But again, they made Nimmo turn into this type of player, the player that I don't think is better than the previous Nimmo, the on-base guy, the guys that a doubles machine, gets on base for the big run producers. And if you have Juan Soto behind him and Pete Alonso behind him and Vientos behind him, I think that's a better lineup. But they don't see it that way. They see Nimmo as a big run producer, and I still don't see that. I don't care if he had 80, 90, 89 RBIs last year. If he doesn't hit a home run, it seems like this is what they wanted. His whole philosophy and his approach at the plate is just completely different. And I just don't like him in the cleanest spot. If I have one little thing, I don't want Nimmo in that 4 spot. And Chris, I'm going on along what you've been saying with the lineup from day one, because Nimmo is, I just don't see him as that guy that he should be in the 4 hole. I would flip Nimmo and Soto, put Nimmo second, Alonso in the cleanup spot, and Soto 3rd, only because Nimmo has no place in this lineup other than leadoff or the 2 hole, in my opinion. I think that's his best spot in the lineup, but based on they're not moving Lindor at a leadoff spot, and Mendoza loves Soto in the 2 hole, you're not betting Nimmo 6th or lower in the lineup. So you're kind of limited on what you can do. It's either going to be the 4th spot or the 5th spot, which we've seen Nimmo every game this year that he played. So what is your thoughts on the Brandon Nimmo situation? Because it seems like they're force feeding us in the 4 and 5 spot for Brandon Nimmo, and he hasn't done enough. He has 2 home runs, but again, he's turning into that power or nothing type of player. And Nimmo needs to get on base more, because he also has speed where he can go 1st to 3rd, 1st to home. And I think you're losing that when you're trying to get him to drive in Lindor and Soto and Alonso. It's kind of crazy thinking that they're still trying to make him be a player that I don't think he can be.
Yeah, I mean, I have been saying it all along, to be honest with you. There's people that are just so infatuated with Juan Soto batting second, because in today's day and age, the best hitter bats second. And I'm just like, all right, well, that's fine, but you're going to have to figure out the rest of the spots. And the Mets up until this point. Not saying that they can't figure it out, because with what they have personnel wise, they should be able to figure it out, especially with, Brandon Nimmo or Mark Vientos batting 4 or 5. But yeah, I agree with you. If there was one switch, Nimmo in the 2 spot would definitely be something that I would definitely consider. And yeah, I don't know what the reason for that is, but it just was clear all along in spring training that Carlos Mendoza was going to utilize that 1-2-3 being Lindor, Soto, and Alonso. And Nemo's approach has definitely changed, to be honest with you. I don't know why. Back when they actually moved him down to the middle of the order, I was kind of under the assumption that Brandon Nemo's approach from the leadoff spot was something that he could transfer into the middle of the lineup. All fields power, getting on base, not over swinging, not trying to do too much. Because I look at Nemo and I assess him in the entirety of his career.
Yeah.
And I'm like, he doesn't try to do too much. And we always talk about trying to do too much and getting into trouble with that. And it just seems like he's trying to do a little bit too much. I'm not worried about Brandon Nimmo, by the way. I mean, he's batting 250. The on-base percentage, I agree with you 100%, Rob. It's 280, needs to go up. I mean, Nimmo should be a 340, 350 on-base percentage guy, 100%, no matter where he bats. So I don't really know what's going to have to budge, but can they really do much? If they're really set on Juan Soto batting second, what can they realistically do if both Brandon Nimmo and Mark Vientos aren't hitting at their peaks? You know what I mean? They're not going to bat Luis Torrens fourth. They're not going to bat Starling Marte fourth. It's just kind of like they're committed to the top 3. So they have the rest of the guys, 4 and 5 in particular, have to figure it out. And that's it.
Yeah, it's just, it sucks though, because I still think Nimmo can hit 20 home runs by keeping the same approach where he was a high on base guy. I still think he can, because he has enough power to do so. Like, he has that strength to do so. I don't think just changing the approach is making him a 20 home run guy. I think just because he got a few years more experience, he plays every day over the last, 4 years or so. He's been playing every day. I just think experience alone, and knowing what pitches to jump on. It's just that I think he's over swinging now, and I think it's causing him to have a lower average. I know he's batting 250 right now, but again, if he continues this, it's probably going to be less than 250. To be quite honest with you, unless he's going to be a 25 plus home run guy, I'm going to worry about the average from Brandon Nimmo, because that is the player that I want him to be, a little bit more of an average guy, on base guy, and he can probably still hit 18 to 20 home runs. Again, if he becomes a 25 home run guy or more, we can throw the average to the side a little bit, because obviously the production's coming more on the offensive side. But we need Nimmo to drive in runs because of the spot he's in the lineup, right? Juan Soto's going to get on base a lot, right? If Pete Alonso doesn't drive him in, we need Nimmo to drive him in, right? You got the 3 and 4 spot, who's your biggest run producers in that lineup. Not name-wise, but just based on where they are in the lineup. Nimmo's got to do that. If he doesn't do that, then I don't know. I'm not really sure if they're going to change it up. I think if the Mets are winning, nobody's going to change it up. The reason why lineups get changed is because you're losing. So again, the lineup is what it is. We'll see how it goes. Game 1 at home. I don't think it's very windy in New York, so it should be a very hitter friendly game today for the hitters, and might be a tough go over from Gausman or McGill. And since we haven't got to McGill yet, we talked about what the Mets have to do with Gausman, but with Tyler McGill, again, I think it's the 2 out of 3 last home openers. He's pitching in. Pitched well against the Astros. The Mets won that one game when he was on the mound. What is your I'm sorry, that wasn't true, was it? Was it? Yeah. Well,
what did you say?
I'm sorry. Don't worry about what I said. It's completely probably wrong. Tyler McGill, what does he have to do today? It's going to be, it's a nice day at the ballpark. It's not cold and windy, so the ball's going to jump at CitiField today 100%. It's a little bit, it's pretty warm, and it's kind of humid, so the air is not going to be thick like when it's cold, and it's just a good day to hit. What does Tyler McGill have to do to be successful against a Blue Jays lineup tonight?
Listen, it's just like every time we talk about Tyler McGill, it's just like, what does he have to do? What does he have to do? What does he have to do? It's a roller coaster with Tyler McGill. Let's be honest with you.
Yeah.
But I'm just like trying to figure it out, like in my head. Like Tyler McGill has all the recipe. He has the recipe for success. He really does. Like he has all the pitches when he's working, he's on a roll. It looks brilliant. And then he just like hits a wall in the later innings. And we've said this time and time again, even going back into the Astros game, we talked about on the pregame. We were like, what's the key to Tyler McGill's success? It's like we know that he's gonna do probably fairly well in the first, inning, second inning, third inning. But when he gets to that fourth or fifth inning, can he really continue that efficiency?
Yeah.
And it just seems like it's untimely free bases from Tyler McGill. When everything goes wrong for him in the latter stages of the game, because we always talk about Tyler McGill being a dominant 3-inning, maybe 3 2/3 inning pitcher, and then the wheels just fall off. So in order for him to be consistently the version that we saw in Houston, which was absolutely dominant, by the way, love that version of Tyler McGill. If he can replicate that and keep on doing that, I have no problem leaving him in and penciled in as the fifth start in this rotation. So I really do think that it is just down to his command. And the same thing can be said for Clay Holmes and why he has kind of struggled over his first two starts, is that the command just simply hasn't been there. Now, Tyler McGill's command was there the last go around, which provided the immediate results. I'm really curious when the Blue Jays bat the second time around, third time around, how that's going to go for him. Should be a little bit more advantageous because this ballpark plays a little bit bigger, especially in left field, the pull side, than the Astros Stadium. So that should be advantageous. I'm not sure what the wind conditions are right now in Queens at the very moment, but just keep the hitters off balance. And that's I'm not really in tune with the whole pitching mechanics of things and analyzing like the velocity or analyzing the spin rate like that. Those are advanced analytics that I don't get into. I like to get into advanced analytics on the hitting side. But we talk about pitching versus throwing. And you brought this up countless of times, Rob. Yep. And the broadcast has also pointed this out countless of times. You go on MLB Network, they've pointed it out countless of times. When you have a differential, when you have these fringe guys that are like, do we put him in the bullpen? Do we start him? We don't know what to do with him. That's like where Tyler McGill falls in line, right? We don't know what to do with him because we just haven't seen that consistency. When he gets into those latter stages of the game, you can really see, is he pitching or is he just throwing the baseball? And when he's throwing the baseball is usually when his command is off. So the differentiation between that in terms of the definitions, I'm not going to even get into right now, but it's pretty obvious to people who watch baseball and have watched Tyler McGill over the past couple of seasons that there is a clear line. When you get to the later stages of the ball game, you'll see him start to either pitch or to throw, or he will keep continuing to pitch. And that's just the best way that I can explain it. So in a roundabout way, efficiency, which is like the sixth time in a row. I think that with this, rotation on paper, everyone's been questioning this rotation. Everybody, right? Everybody in this Mets fan base has at least at one point had their reservations about this rotation. If they can continue to pitch efficiently into the fifth inning at least and complete the fifth inning, with what we've seen in the bullpen so far, Rob, I've been pleasantly surprised with. Not surprised, but like pleasantly happy with. And I'm not surprised because look at the bullpen on paper. It is plentiful. When you're getting contributions from Huascar Brazaban, that is a great sign. This bullpen's going to carry a tremendous workload, and they're ready for it. So make it a competitive ball game going into the fifth inning, maybe even the sixth inning, and let's call it a day.
100% agree.
I think Tyler McGill is going to have a good outing. This is just my gut feel.
Okay, cool. I like what you're saying. And just they're doing an opening introductions right now. Guerrero got a very good hand from Met fans. It was pretty loud when they announced Guerrero Jr. So not shocked. And they're just about to finish up the Blue Jays, and now the Mets are gonna get introduced now, the starting lineup and all the whole roster probably. So yeah, I agree with you with Tyler McGill, right? It's that second time through the order that you always worry about that he can get into trouble, right? He needs to pitch. Again, you brought it up. He cannot be a thrower. He's got to plan this out. And the Mets intro was kind of awesome. The video, that's awesome.
Oh, that was, it was electric. I saw that on their social media too.
Yeah, it's awesome. I watched a little bit of when I was at work, but now it's like, oh, okay. Yeah. So sorry about that, guys. Yeah. So that's what Tyler McGill has to do, right? If he can get through that second time through the order without a hiccup, I'm not saying, put up complete zeros. We all would love that. But look like a pitcher. Do what you need to do. Because maybe you can get to that sixth inning. And maybe if your pitch count's good, get into that seventh inning. Because again, the bullpen has been damn good. But at some point, you got to be a little bit careful going to the bullpen again and again and again and again, because one, you're going to get exposed. Teams are going to see them pitches more, and they're going to adjust to those pitches. And you don't want to burn out the bullpen in the first month of the season, Chris.
I really, as you were talking, I said I didn't want to really define it, but I feel like we at least need to explain it just a little bit in terms of like pitching versus just throwing out there. When I think of throwing, I think of a pitcher that is so wanting to aim the baseball and just get it in a certain spot and is very worried about getting it in that spot and that spot alone, which, if you are thinking about that already, it's in your head and you're more prone to making mistakes and leaving balls out over the heart of the plate or just simply missing your target and it being a ball. When I think of a pitcher, I think of him understanding the types of pitches that he has in his arsenal and being confident in that pitch and the movement that he can induce with that pitch to be like, okay, this is where I'm going to aim the ball. But I know that if it hits anywhere close to where the target is, it's going to end up in the strike zone. And more often than not, I'm going to get a swing or miss, or I'm going to get weak contact. So it's just about the confidence level. Instead of trying to aim the baseball, knowing that the location isn't the end all be all. Yes, you're always going to try to hit the location and the spot of where the catcher's set up, but sometimes you see it every single game, multiple times a game. And you see it with Edwin Diaz in particular. When a catcher's set up at a certain part of the plate and he misses to the complete opposite part of the plate, and sometimes when you don't plan something like that, it ends up working in your favor. I can think of one particular pitch where Edwin Diaz threw last game against the Marlins, right? Where, or was the last game? It was in the Marlins series, whichever game it was. And he missed on the outer third of the plate when Luis Torrens was calling a slider in on the hands of the batter. And guess what? He was able to paint that corner for a strike 3 call, and the batter didn't even swing. And that's the perfect example of like, you don't need to always hit your locations, but if you have enough confidence in that pitch, throw it and good things will happen. And don't aim the baseball.
It's all about confidence in the pitches you throw. If you don't have confidence in it, it's probably not going to go so well. So look, we'll see. We'll see if Tyler McGill pitches like a pitcher and actually is a pitcher, or he's going to be a thrower. We're going to see that today against a pretty decent Blue Jays lineup. All right, so final thoughts, Chris. Do you think the Mets are going to win, number one? And who do you think is going to have a big game in the Mets lineup today before we call it a day?
Oh, man. I think, well, do you want me to just come up here and tell you that I think the Mets are going to lose? I mean, of course, I'm never going to say that. I don't even know how that's a question from you, Rob. Yeah, I think the Mets can pull it out. Gausman, listen, as we mentioned, and as I mentioned, the splitter gives the New York Mets lineup historically problems. So that's going to be the one pitch that they have to figure out. It's not like they're going to be sitting up there and guessing between 5 or 6 different pitches like some other pitchers are throwing, right? I mean, Chris Bassett, who I believe goes for the Toronto Blue Jays tomorrow, has 7 different pitches where the hitters can be like, okay, well, which one is he throwing? You have to choose and guess maybe between 3 different pitches with Kevin Gausman. But it's just like picking up that spin of the splitter is going to be so very difficult. So that's the one issue that I definitely foresee the Mets lineup going through today. And Kevin Gausman's a veteran. He's been around this game for a long time. He knows how to pitch. Like, he is not a thrower. He is a pitcher, as we're on this topic of throwing versus pitching. But I'm confident. And if I have to give you one player that's going to show out for the New York Mets today, ooh, I would like to think with Vladimir Guerrero Jr. chatting it up with Pete Alonso and Francisco Lindor and kind of knowing a little bit of the conversations that have been happening this offseason, I'd like to think that Pete Alonso just keeps the hot streak alive as his OPS is over 1,000. He's carrying this Mets offense. I'd like to see him do a lot of damage against the Toronto Blue Jays and just shut everybody up. But if I had to give you a little bit of a dark horse in this lineup that's going to, kind of show out today, let's say Mark Vientos. I think Mark Vientos is due.
I think we're on the same page with Mark Vientos, to be quite honest with you. I think he's going to have a big game. I think the Mets are going to win. So I'm ready to go. They're still calling out the roster right now in the opening introductions. Mets are going to win 6-1 today. I think we're going to have multiple home runs in total for the lineup today. I think Vientos is going to have a big game, multiple RBIs. Tyler McGill, be a pitcher and win this ball game and get to that bullpen with a lead. And the bullpen has been dominant. So let's get it done, guys. Happy opening day. Enjoy the home opener, guys. We'll see you on the postgame show right after the game, hopefully talking about a Mets win. Enjoy the game, guys. Let's go Mets, and we'll see you at the postgame show.
Let's go Mets.
Meet the Mets. Meet the Mets. Step right up and greet the Mets. Bring your kid.